The information and views expressed by our host or guests on the Unlock Potential podcast are their own, and not a substitute for professional medical or fitness advice. Always consult with qualified healthcare or fitness professionals before starting any new exercise program or making changes to your current routine.
I think that a lot of people approach me and they'll say, well, Derek, you've got someone else's heart in your chest that could fail at any moment. How does it feel to know that you could just go at any time? And I look at them and I accept their curiosity, even if their tact might be a little off. Yeah. And I go, I don't know. How do you feel?
Hello and welcome to Season 2 of Unlock Potential. I'm Brian Delaney. Our focus this season is fitness. I'll be joined by Dr. Corey Duvall, who's going to guide us through his protocol for getting into your best shape so we can live our best lives and serve others well. Hello and welcome back. I'm so glad you decided to join us for this episode, which is a continuation of our conversation with Derek and Aaron Fitzgerald. I know so many of you are plugging into this because of the inspiration, because of the thought processes, the perspective of that first episode, because you may know somebody like that and you shared the story with us in the comments. Make sure to do that again. In this episode, we're going to get more into the recovery, the rehabilitation, the strengthening, the perspectives that come through the struggle, and how they have been able to share that with others and continue to build community around the right ethics, the right perspectives, and the things that give life to others. So glad you joined us. Looking forward to this episode. Like I said, make sure to like it and subscribe. You can join us for more on Patreon as always, but make sure to subscribe and share your stories and how this has inspired you. At Lake Placid, you just finished your Ironman. Bring us to that moment, because you had just a little bit earlier, a year earlier, watched Bob go through that. And if you didn't get chills, like when he told that story, that's wild. Like that's one of that moment. All right. That's a moment that we all wish for, but it's not a wished for moment. It's a worked for moment.
Yeah.
And now you had gone from seeing that where it was still, and there's so many lessons in that story about Bob where it's just like, he didn't finish. It wasn't exactly as he thought it was going to be, but it was amazing. Yeah. And it was more. Right. And his attempt was so freaking inspiring to you that you're sitting there calling your coach and it's like, I've got to do it. I'm not asking myself if I can. I know I have to. And now I'm on this mission. So now you've gone through this whole experience from that moment of coaching to the functional strength to the recovery, now to this finish line.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Well, since no one had ever done it before, there was a bit of ignorance and bliss, or bliss and ignorance. And like the final 5K of the marathon, getting to that finish line, I had friends running alongside me, or running is generous. At that point, I was exhausted. It took me
shuffling alongside of you.
I finished with like 16 minutes left before midnight.
Oh my gosh.
It was a full day. It
wow.
At 7 a.m.
Wow. Okay.
And so it was 16 hours and 40 some odd minutes. And so in the last 5K of the run, my friends were alongside me saying, you're going to do this. You're on track. You're pacing. You're going to finish this. I'm like, I don't know. I'm not going to allow myself that possibility until I achieve that. And so finally I entered the Olympic Oval on the far side, and Mike Riley had gotten everybody worked up. He had seen the story and he had been telling people about it, and people were losing their minds and they were cheering for me. And I crossed that finish line, and it was the culmination. It was a defining moment.
Yeah.
Ironman's motto is anything is possible. And for me, that was the definitive proof that anything for me was possible. To the point where, as I was training for Ironman Lake Placid, several other heart transplant recipient buddies of mine in my network reached out to me and said, hey, you think you'd be up for another Ironman 4 months later in Ironman Arizona?
Wow.
Like have 5 of us do an Ironman together? And I said, sure, if I can cross the finish line in Placid, I'll give Arizona a shot.
Mm-hmm.
And so 4 months later, I went out and I did my second full distance Ironman. It's different terrain, different course.
Mm-hmm.
Ironman's lots of elevation, lots of straight up, straight down. Arizona is just a lot of long straightaways where you just get in, you grind.
Yeah.
And you deal with the heat.
Mm-hmm.
Placid, you can get 4 seasons in one race.
Yeah.
Arizona's just dealing with heat.
Mm-hmm.
And so crossing that finish line in Placid was a true testament to myself that anything is possible.
Mm-hmm.
There is nothing that I will not do if I put my mind to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a matter of staying consistent, staying the course. At a year post-transplant, I felt the best that I'd ever felt in my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I can't believe how good I feel.
Yeah.
And then at 2 years past transplant, I looked back at the year anniversary and I said, I didn't know what the hell I was talking about. Because now
Wow.
I feel better than I've ever felt in my life. The transplant didn't return me to a level of fitness.
Mm-hmm.
The transplant catapulted me to a level of fitness that I had never achieved.
Wow.
And so 3 years, I look back at 2 years and I said, I didn't know what I was talking about then either. Mm-hmm. And it really took a good 5 years
mm-hmm.
before I really started sinking in, like, this is my life now. This is who I am. This is what I do.
Yeah.
And so, there are so many people who try to take those steps who don't know how far they can go.
Yep.
Who quit too soon.
Yeah.
Who turn back and they never achieve what it is that they're working for. Mm. And that's a lesson that I've used with everything in my life.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, that finish line perspective versus starting line perspective. It's like we doubt that we have what it takes. But one thing we are certain of in that moment is we can't take failure. Mm-hmm. And so we never even start guaranteeing the thing that we can't take.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that perspective is so incredibly valuable and so incredibly deep and rich
mm-hmm.
for you because of the depths, right? But if every single person takes that and says, no, I'm not going to judge my ability, my strength, my resource. I'm not going to judge any of that until I get to the finish line.
Yeah.
And because it's not like whether you can do it or not, you can freaking do it.
Yeah.
It's how long is your recovery going to be after?
Right. Yeah.
It's like, how long is it going to take? Doesn't really matter. Can you do it? Yes, you can. Are you going to be out for the next 6 days, 6 hours, 6 months, or 6 years? Like that's the training perspective. And when it comes to that functional strength, I know you had shared some things with me, especially since that's a huge part of our focus. We're coming out with the app. Mm-hmm. I would love for you to talk about your experience with that, because you were in this rehabilitation situation. And I talk to people every freaking week, every month, who are like, am I too sick? Am I too old? Am I too injured? It's like, listen, if you have some knee issues, I think a heart transplant is more serious. But
are you on Earth? Yes.
Are you on Earth? Are you pumping blood and oxygen for the most part? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. It's all a matter of where were you yesterday? Where are you today?
Yeah.
Push a little bit further today.
Mm-hmm.
And so for the program that I went through, I mean, I think of, and I don't know if you do it here, but something as simple as like a mobility and flexibility exercise of a walking lunge with a twist.
Mm-hmm.
And being able to put my forearm on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And when I started, I mean, I had so many compensations. My body had locked itself down in so many areas that I was stiff, I was tight,
mm-hmm.
and I couldn't get my forearm all the way to the ground. I couldn't get my elbow. So I was like a good 7-8 inches from the ground,
mm-hmm.
like doing this, going, come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Just swinging in the breeze.
Yeah.
I can picture Fernando like, well, we got some work to do.
No, he's hilarious.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Sit back going, brother, be tight. and so
he's awesome.
So he would put me through my paces and just building off of one flexibility and mobility exercise to the next, where Fernando has this boot camp that he would run every year. And he would bring in athletes of all shapes and sizes and all backgrounds. And he'd put a bar stool in the middle of the room, very similar to this one. He's got all of the machinery around, but middle of the room puts a wooden bar stool, 3-legged bar stool on the ground in front of everybody. And he goes, all right, bar stool. All right, everybody knows what it is. And you've got 3 legs, boom, boom, boom. He's got his muscle roller. He's banging out the legs. 3 legs, and you got these interconnecting rods in between each leg. 2 of them. All right. So let's just picture this as your body. Okay. The big legs, the 3 legs, are the major muscle groups. So you think about your bodybuilders, you think about the pecs, you think about the lats, you think about the delts, you think about the biceps, you think about the quads, think about the calves, think about all those big muscles that they're really pumping. And they work those muscles and they're huge, but then they get out of bed and they pull out their back because it's all those interconnecting muscles. It's the rods and the dowels going from one major leg to the next leg to the next leg. Said, I could stand on this bar stool right now if I wanted to. I could stand on this and it would hold my weight, right? And everybody goes, yeah, absolutely. He said, what happens if I take out those connecting rods from the main legs, from the main muscle groups? Could I stand on it then and not break my neck? Probably not. If you have impingements with, rotation, either at your hips or at your shoulders, you could be the equivalent of the finest racing machine that ever lived. Right? If that finest racing machine that ever lived was trying to go from 0 to 160 with the brakes engaged, how long do you think it'll get you to that point? And if you do get to 160, what do you think it's doing to your body?
Yeah. The higher you go without the support and without the support of those small pieces, that banding that's around it, the more likely you are for all of that building that you did to cause you massive problems and for it to be harder to recover from.
So true.
And it's just like this, and we see it all the time. And that's one of the reasons that we advocate for that functional movement, because it's like, if you want to always go from intense and strenuous work to weak and needing recovery, or injury and needing recovery, you're going to live in a way of suffering. You're going to be suffering on a real regular basis. But if you can, instead of just driving up capacity, if you're able to drive up your comfort zone and have more and more things being able to do with ease, things that used to take a lot, now you can do it with ease, and your body knows how to recover from it quicker, right? And but so many of us get our head in the way, and it's like, well, I want to be able to lift this number. I want to be able to do this, when at the end of the day, you want to not be able to you want to be able to get out of bed and not get injured. Right. You don't want to lean over and cough. You don't want to be muscle bound. You don't want to have somebody else. And a lot of times that's the people are taking advice from these people on YouTube, where it's like, yeah, that dude's shredded, and his wife also needs to wipe his ass and help him put a t-shirt on. It's like,
if you pay it to we talk, it happened to me too. Like, I had to reset and see Fernando for a while for some injuries, because I was one of those people who I didn't have time for. I just wanted to run. I just wanted to do this, but I didn't have time for yoga. I didn't have time for functional strength until I could barely take a walk. My muscles just started locking up, and I started putting weight on, and I'm like, what is happening? And then finally went and saw Fernando, and then I was able to move again. But everybody who says, I don't have time for yoga, I don't have time for stretching, I don't have time for functional strength coaching, pay attention. They're not going to be able to do what they're doing in the future. Yeah.
Without a doubt.
The idea of no pain, no gain. No, it should be no pain, no pain.
Yeah.
Keep going.
That's a great t-shirt, because it's like that, and that's what people associate with progress is like, well, I have to go through pain to make progress. It's like, well, let's not talk about the pain, because most of it's mental anguish.
Right.
Because of our expectation of something being different or easier than what it actually is, or our expectation of our performance being better than it is, without any evidence, by the way.
Yeah.
There's no evidence to back that up. I'm going to be so good at how many times have I said, I'm going to do so awesome at this,
Yeah.
but have done no training beforehand,
Right.
have none of the tools to
Yeah.
equip. And then I'm like, wow, that wasn't awesome. So it turns out thinking that you're awesome is not
In my
enough to
head, I was so
prepare.
good at this.
It's like, I just imagine how good or bad a circumstance would be, rather than getting the tools that seem ordinary.
Mm-hmm.
It seems ordinary to be able to get up from a chair
Mm-hmm.
and to be able to walk across the room.
Mhm.
It seems ordinary to be able to get up from the floor until you can't.
Yeah.
Until you can't get down on the floor with your kids. Or if you do, you need a hand up and you're 50 and you're moving yourself toward irrelevance because of immobility.
Yeah. What's harder? Is it so hard to do the exercises that will keep you going?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it going to be harder to not be able to get on the floor with your kids? Like, choose your hard. Which one do you want?
That's right.
Do some stretching, my friend.
Yeah.
Back in the day, when I used to go around and interview oncologists, I was talking to this one geriatric oncologist.
Mm-hmm.
And so the question came to the oncologist, how do you define old age?
Mm-hmm.
And he said, well, Derek, in my practice, it's more of a functional issue than a chronological issue. He said, when I have new patients come to visit me, I'll ask them to sit in a chair in my office. I'll ask them to stand up out of the chair and walk 10 feet across the room.
Mm.
The longer it takes them to sit up or stand up and walk 10 feet, the shorter their life.
Wow.
Period. He said, and it's not just from a physical perspective. If you're picturing the old rickety person trying to get up from a chair, no, it's the mental aspect of that as well, because it's our physicality and are able to be mobile and experience life and spend time with our friends and our loved ones and take that walk around the lake with the dog and the love of your life that ties you to this earth. And when you can't move and your life just shrinks down to that Barca-lounger in front of the TV, and your friends call and ask you to go out to dinner with them, and you go, no, I'm not feeling that great.
Mm-hmm.
And then, your loved ones are like, well, you got this? Okay, I'm gonna go do the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And you just sit there, you lose your ties and your connections to life.
Mm-hmm.
And by that time, your body is broken, your mind becomes broken, and you lose those ties to life, and then you're gone. That's it.
Yep, you've lost one of the primary indicators of longevity, which is a supportive social circle.
Yep.
And so I was talking about this with Corey, and one of the things we were talking about is just we were talking about an episode previously, and there's this trope, and it seems true, like if we would only treat older people well, we would be better as a society. And I believe if people as they're aging treat themselves well, we would be better as a society. Because all of a sudden they cut themselves off and there's no credibility. And you know how fired up I get when I see an 80, 90, 100-year-old person who just like, I saw a guy the other day, he was a World War II vet.
Yeah.
Like, this is a guy who stormed the beaches of Normandy at somewhere around 20 years of age.
Wow.
He was walking just fine. He was doing it a little slower than he used to be. Absolutely. But not needing round-the-clock medical care. And that's what we can see with people. It was amazing to see the prevalence of diabetes, the prevalence of people being overweight. And then they're like, well, why don't they come see me anymore? It's like, that's not how it works. You go see them. You have to go out and see them. You have to go out, be able to go outside and play football with the kids. You have to be able to, you have to go meet them where they are, because they're not going to meet you where you are, because where you are is freaking boring to them. Like what are they going to do? Meet you over a coffee and a crossword? They're 11.
Right. Like Arthur, our neighbors, Arthur and Natalia. And this was something we noticed over COVID. What is he, like 90 something now? I think
he's up there.
He's up there, and he's a vet, but he injured himself in the war, and so he's like sort of bent over. But I will tell you, during COVID, when people couldn't go to the gym and all that, we took a walk the one day and we looked up and they were out on their like balcony, and below them was their personal trainer coaching them while they were out on their balcony with their little with their weights.
Yeah, heck yeah.
And they were up there like doing their thing. And we see them walking like this huge hill near where we live. We see them walking with his little cart, like a couple times a week. And it, like you said, it gets you fired up. I'm like, that is what I would like to have. Like, I want to be doing that right up until the day that it's time.
Yeah. Yeah. Steep incline, quick decline.
Let's
go.
Exactly,
Let's go.
Exactly.
Yeah. There's a gentleman who, the year I did the Ironman World Championship in Kona, Hawaii, I was one of the last to finish. And it was one of those things where I did not think I would be finishing that day, to the point where no one else on the course thought I'd be finishing that day, to the point where I was coming back on the bike, coming down from this little town of Hawi, and there's a turn onto the Queen K Highway. And the traffic cop was holding the traffic up for me so I could turn right back onto the Queen K. And she looks at me and goes, "You gave it your best shot, sugar."
Oh, wow.
I'm still racing.
I'm right here.
I'm still going. And that pissed me off. And I was like, no, we're doing this. And I was grateful that I finished with like minutes to spare. But there's a picture of a gentleman, I think was 82 at the time, collapsed up against one of the barricades in the chute leading up to the finish line.
Wow.
Where he was just hanging his one arm, completely spent.
Yeah.
And it's just this, he was 82 and
wow.
And just feet from the finish line at midnight. Yeah. Didn't make it.
Yeah.
So at 83, he came back.
Yeah, right?
Talk about it.
At 83, he came back and became the oldest person to finish the Kona Ironman.
Wow.
Through the lava fields of Kona and finish that. And the dude's just badass.
Yeah. I'm kind of connecting these points between the time where this woman who you called the general, she's coming into your room, she's saying, hey, look, this is going to be the tendency, even this is going to be the messaging, right? And so one of the things that I just want to dispel is whatever you hear from a place of authority or a person of authority may not be correct, because they may have the best interest of what they're looking at, this very narrow perspective in mind, instead of the best interest of the person and the fullness, like a life that has fullness in it. So you go, you start preparing, you start training. So I remember us talking about the impact that this had on your heart transplant and how you would get regular tests. Like, talk about the body's response, because the first thing that I think of is the thing that I've always been told after a major event, surgery, injury, you got to rest it. You got to rest it. Some of the worst advice consistently I've ever had. It's like, if you don't move it, you won't move it. That's it. And so, but we're talking about bulging discs. We're talking about hernia. We're talking about like, just injuries over the years that I've had, not a heart transplant. Like,
it's still all relative though. We say that all the time. Like, people will say, oh, but it's not what you went through. But I mean, honestly, some of that stuff can be even more difficult to overcome depending on what it is. It's just,
everybody's got their own mountain.
Everyone has their own mountain. It's got to be, it's everyone's journey. And I think, your doctors are going to tell you things that are like guidelines, or they're almost like, they're speed bumps, they're not walls. You know what I mean? Like, so you might have to approach it a little different, or it might take you a little bit longer. You might have to find a little bit of a different route, but none of those, we're not saying like, don't take your medication. Like, it's obviously those are your speed bumps. These are the things you have to do, that you have to live by to be here. Like, you have to take medication every 12 hours for the rest of your life to stay alive. That's a speed bump. It's a pebble, you know what I mean? But none of it is a wall. So it's just figuring out how to keep going.
To what you were asking about what my body's been able to do. So when you go through the transplant, they're like, this is your binder. This is what you can expect for the rest of your life. By the way, we're going to need to see you initially every week, for a month, and then we're going to go to every 2 weeks. Then we're going to go to every month. Then we're going to go to every 3 months to every 6 months, where we're going to have you come back in. And we're going to take biopsies from your heart for 5 years. That's the diagnosis. That's prognosis.
Horrifying. Taking pieces of your heart.
Yeah, no big deal.
So you're denervated. You have no nerves going to the heart. So it's really not that big a deal in terms of the doctors. They're like, you got no nerves going to the heart. We're going to take out a few pieces. Not that big a deal. You're not going to feel it anyway. And so you're not put under. You just go in. It's an outpatient procedure. They numb up your neck. They put a little sheath in there, and then they put like this wire cable with a little pincher that comes out. And so
Yes.
they numb you up. They put the sheath in. They run the wire. It goes down, and then it comes up, and they pull out 3 or 4 or 5 pieces, small, tiny pieces of your heart for biopsy. They're checking for necrosis. They're looking for rejection. All right, rejection, no, not good. So, so they do that at a week out and a month out, and so you're expecting to do that for 5 years. For me, I was so active and so compliant that my body started regenerating nerves to the heart, to my donor's heart, within the first year.
Wow.
And so at like a year and a half, they're trying to pull pieces of the heart out, and my heart is responding. And the guy's like, "Are you feeling this?" I'm like, "Yeah, doc, I'm feeling this." He's like, "Your heart's bucking like a bronco." And so at 2 years, they discontinued the biopsy procedure because it was becoming dangerous. Because normally, if the heart's asleep, they're just taking little pieces out. But my heart was not sleeping; it was responding. And so they're like, "Yeah, this is no longer safe for you. We're going to stop this." So I accelerated the recovery process to a point that not many people ever do, but from 5 years down to 2. The diabetes that I was supposed to get because I was on such high doses of steroids, I was able to wean off all of the steroids very, very quickly. I was able to go from 50 meds a day down to 3 and some supplements at extremely low doses. So now when I hold my hand out, little shake, but not this. I can eat soup if I want to.
He got it back, folks.
But yeah, it's, most people have to go see their doctors for transplant checkup twice a year. I go every year. I go annually.
Wow.
I'm like, all right, it's an annual checkup. I'll go in and see my docs. I'll say hi, give them a high five. I'm out.
That's amazing.
It doesn't control my life. It doesn't define who I am. That experience, that experience is not who I am. But what I do from that experience is this journey that we're on of giving back and trying to honor the gift and trying to make it better for other people. That's what we're here for.
If you're tired of feeling low on energy and settling for the scraps, it's time for your personal revolution. We are helping people go from the person that they have been to the person they were truly meant to be, and helping people get to the next level in their life, their business, and their relationships. Follow us. It's amazing how the body is so responsive when you're willing to be generative. That it's just like this really amazing interplay of like our being, our presence, arriving with high intent. There's these hidden forces that are within our body that kind of push and propel, to respond to stimulus. And you've given it you've hyper stimulated your system in this way of like dragging it all the way down, like plunging this sucker into a nosedive with the chemotherapy. That nosedive was real. You needed a heart transplant. Now building yourself back up, and your body is integrating someone else's heart into your central nervous system.
For the love of God.
What the hell is happening here? As you said about the heart transplant, as close as they can get to a miracle medically, right? now your body is performing what can only be explained as a miracle in response to this stimulus that you've given it.
Yep.
Really was absolutely something else. And then for you to be able to, as an active participant, not a spectator, not a responder, but as an active recipient, participant in your health, for you to be able to wean off these medications under your doctor's provision, to be able to get to a place where it's like, oh, now I go in once a year.
Yeah.
Now I'm only on these medications. Now it's like, now this life, because you've treated those as speed bumps and not walls, they've actually just become speed bumps.
Yeah, truly.
And now I'm sorry,
I was just going to say, like, I mean, that so many physical benefits, but then beyond that, just the community that has been built around that to be able to, I mean, you know, Derek will go into, haven't done it in probably like a few months, but we'll go into the hospital and talk to, you know, transplant patients, or we'll go to, you know, we'll volunteer with Gift of Life in Philadelphia so that he can let these other people know who are about to go through this or who are going through this, like, keep yourself surrounded by people, keep yourself moving, don't stop. And like, that is like the soul feeding stuff.
Yeah.
That's the stuff that, I mean, the physical part's there, but that's the mental part of just, that's how you keep your head in it.
Yeah.
To make yourself get up and do all those other things.
connecting to other human beings.
Yeah. The expectations and standards of other people, especially the right kind of people, that's the power of it. It's like, no, you're going to be compliant. You're going to work your ass off. You're going to finish the Ironman. And it's not you, it's we.
Yeah.
It's like that community, that supportive community, being a sign for longevity, health, vibrancy in our life. And you have this community, you're on the tail end of this. Not everything's like, this would be a Hallmark movie in all cases, but obviously you've mentioned you were married previously, right? Yeah. This you get on this other side of this. You talked about your ex-wife in a really beautiful way for a difficult thing. Like it was just, we had just at that point grown apart.
Yeah.
Let's talk about y'all's journey. Let's like, you know, obviously you shared it over dessert, otherwise it wouldn't have went well, right? But obviously you did that. But what did this look like, you two coming together with a unique perspective around the transplant? Yeah. With you having a bit more experience, you know, than he did previous to his heart transplant. But you're a runner. Yeah. You're engaging in physical activity on a regular basis. You're taking care of yourself. But there's this unique blended perspective that has led to where you all are now, which is just like co-laboring to do the best things in the world with some of the best organizations. Yeah, I would love to hear that story and just how y'all came together and thought processes around that.
I mean, so some of it is, you know, philanthropic, and some of it is like that plus what we do for a living.
Yeah,
you know,
the business.
The business. So we've said over and over again, and you've said it's extremely important to us that whatever we do is putting good back into the world. So we want to leave it like better than we found it. You've heard that before.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And so even things, I think I mentioned like not understanding what what my purpose was. Once it clicked, and once I realized there was an opportunity for us to not just like live, like you can get through life or you can thrive in life. And I was like just getting through, I think at that point, you know, like just, I knew there was something else, but I didn't know how to find it or to find the right community. But then I saw the open door of meeting somebody who got it, who gets it, who's right there with me. Just happened to fall in love with them. That helps too. But you know, not just going to these races, but we had for a good period of time become a part of the Ironman Foundation, which is their charitable leg. And through that, instead of just going to do a race, we would go and do a service project with them and rebuild homes do recovery projects for hurricanes and wildfires, and just I mean, there's so many that we were able to do with them, and bringing our community, like I said, to Gift of Life in Philly, to the family house, and cooking meals for the people who are staying at the family house, and just spending time with them while they're worried about their loved one in the the hospital. Like those are that soul, like all the rest is going to happen if you stay focused, but the soul feeding part is what makes it all worthwhile. And so for us, prior to COVID, we had a great business, or another great business that Derek had created, and I joined him in, and we were making great money. We were traveling the world. The space that we chose to work in was health and wellness. Everyone who required in-person events, and then COVID hit, and it was, I mean, who knew? That everything was going to go sideways like immediately. So we lost everything in a matter of weeks, like savings, everything. So it was wild. But what I will say, we had days that were not great, but we were never like, this is it. We always knew, like, okay, what's next? Always, what's next? So we made, a few mistakes along the way, trying to find what's next. Had some partnerships that weren't the right thing to do or right way to go. But we ultimately found what we do now, which, as you describe it, is at that perfect intersection of being able to provide for our family and kind of continue on that path of our goals. But at the end of the day, when we put our head on the pillow, there's no doubt that we're giving people peace of mind. We're giving people, that just ability to breathe and be present. Like, and as someone who is married to someone with a heart transplant, I'm hyper aware of how hard it is to be present. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, even things like, how do you get coverage when you're with someone who all the insurance carriers are like, no, thank you. There's other programs you do. There's other ways that you find to give that peace of mind. And I think being able to speak to that and help people in that way is, we didn't even know what we were missing.
Yeah.
We didn't know, like we liked our jobs that we did before, but we didn't realize what was missing until we were able to do this and be able to pull it all together.
Yeah, let's talk about the timeline of it, because you're talking about your insurance brokerage, where you really help people not only protect their family by protecting the assets, you help them provide that protection when they're not able to be here, right? You help them on a regular basis, write a promise that you and the company are going to help keep for them, for their family, and provide some guarantees. And one of the guarantees that I find really spectacular about this business is there's a guarantee that the person who is signing onto that policy, that life insurance policy, as a promise to their family that, hey, even when I'm not here, this will still be here. My intent will still be here with you. But there is 100% certainty that they will sacrifice what they have now to make room for their family not to have to sacrifice later. That in building a shield that not only is big enough to protect their family, but is not so big that they need to ever put it down or cancel a policy, that they've provided that shield as a way of moving forward for their family, even in those most difficult times when they're not able to be breaking the trail anymore for their family. They have that legacy. And I think that's, what a truly remarkable fit for y'all. It
really is. And even like, I think about, prior to us meeting, the fact that you had insurance in place, you thought you were going to die. So you took some trips, took some end of life trips with your family and
I spent everything. I mean, I firmly believe that you can't take it with you, but I had a nice life insurance policy, and I knew that when I passed, that they were going to get made whole, and we were going to experience that life for the moments that we had left together.
And then he didn't die.
And then I didn't die. So go figure.
Financial planning for when you live. This is the next business.
Right. Yeah. So I think it's Yeah, you've heard it before. No one's like, I want to be an insurance agent when I grow up. It's not like fireman, insurance agent, like,
yeah. Let's see, president, Batman, insurance broker.
Like, I would like, polyester suits and like, stereotypes. But I mean, everyone that we've met who's winning in this business, they come from like, they lead with their heart. We always say lead with your heart, not your wallet, lead with your heart. And they're winning because of a journey, something that they've been through. And it's just, who knew? Yeah.
And we get to, at least the way I look at it, that there's this person who still lives on, beats on in my chest, allows me to be alive. They were complete strangers who came into my life, changed my life forever.
Yeah.
And for us, what we're providing for our clients is the ability to be that stranger who comes into their life and changes their life for the positive forever.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. But the way we do one thing is the way we do all things.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I hear just in the short time that I got to speak with you in Nevis, and from what I've learned about you, excellence is on the table in a big way in your business. Like you're doing things. You're not seeing the ways that the business has been done as those walls. You're seeing those as those speed bumps along the way. And then you're making the way for other people. So you're not only getting it done, but you're duplicating and having more and more people going into other people's lives in order to make those dramatic changes. Everything from the life insurance side to protecting people's retirement. And now you're at the agency level, you're training others, you're growing and developing leaders, like 13 years now post heart transplant.
Yeah.
Whoa. Like we always talk about it as a transfer of vision. What a freaking compelling vision of like, hey, I didn't think I was going to be alive, and now I get to invest this essence, which somebody else is literally a part of, in other people, so that they can have the confidence, they can see themselves in other people in a new way.
Coolest feeling. Yeah. It's the coolest feeling in the world. Like winning is great, but seeing someone you helped get to the starting line. You help somebody else get to the starting line, and then they take it and they win. Like, nothing is cooler than that. Like, nothing is cooler than that.
And they, when they say, well, we want to get to where you guys are, we're like, well, why stop there? You guys have so much more potential than we ever had. Blow past us. Bring it.
Yeah. You have your own freaking heart.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. That's so true. Yeah. We're just, so give you an example of just how it literally carries into everything. Like, so we don't half-ass anything really. And we also, like, when people are like, what motivates you? And we're like, I don't really understand the word motivation. It's kind of just, we just do the thing. But, this is a funny story. So when Derek turned 50, sorry, everybody's 50 years old. When he turned 50, I got the mail and I was like, he got the AARP thing, and I was like laughing. And I was like, babe, you have all these AARP things now. And he like paused for a second and he's like, this is exciting.
Wow.
Yeah. Like, he's like, I made it to AARP. Like, I mean, he could have been like, oh man, like AARP, I'm old now. He like got excited.
Getting old.
Just like, I made out, look at that. I'm here.
Wow.
The AARP thing. So it's just a flip of perspective. Can you imagine life if you approached everything from the first day, first day for everything, approached everything as anything's possible, approached everything as what's next, approach everything as it doesn't matter what's going to get in your way. What are you going to do next?
Yeah.
Like 1% better every day, 2% better, whatever it is. Like, just, would that change your life if you just did it for a day? Right?
So that leads me to a story. So for a while I was participating with the Dragonfly Heart Camp, which was an outdoor kids camp for kids who had never been able to go to a camp because they all either had heart transplants, were on the waiting list, or had something called pulmonary hypertension. And none of these kids had experienced any of this in their lives. But the transplant teams at Johns Hopkins and Penn Medicine came together to be camp counselors.
Wow.
So you think about
That's amazing. Yeah.
Bunk beds, fire pits, making s'mores, zip lines, rock wall climbing, all this stuff for kids who spent most of their childhood in a hospital wing.
Yeah.
And so it was a great program. It's no longer in existence, but basically when there were helicopter parents, so when the kids went in for the week or the weekend, all the cell phones would go into a box. Parents couldn't get in touch with them.
Wow.
Everything was signed off on. All the meds were managed by Johns Hopkins and Penn. And so they asked me to give like a fireside chat. And so, I was like the uncle figure who had been through transplant and did this Ironman. So I finished Lake Placid and I tell them the story about Lake Placid. So all the kids are gathered around the fire. I'm sitting at the fire and I'm telling the story. All the staff are standing around and watching. And so I finished the story and I crossed the finish line and I'm like, all right, so, and everybody claps. I'm like, any questions you guys have? And this one little girl, she was in junior high at the time, I think. She had pulmonary hypertension and dysplasia. So,
oh wow!
Everything, her organs were flipped and inverted.
Yeah.
She had the typical pinkish purple hue. She had the oxygen. Kids from a very early on know that their life is not going to be what other kids' lives are like. And it's a very real existence and reality for this group of kids. And so she raises her hand and she goes, that was great, Derek, but how do you keep moving forward? And I said,
what a heartbreaking question from this little young lady. Yeah.
I said, do you mean like in an Ironman race? And she was like, no, like, how do you get up every day?
Wow.
And so I looked at this young woman and I looked at the other kids and they were like tuned in immediately. And I looked at the staff and they just kind of went,
like, we're hoping you got this one.
And I was like thinking, what do I say? What do I not say to these kids? And it was a gut punch. And I looked at her and I said, okay, let's just take this hypothetical reality that you have a crystal ball. And this crystal ball tells you that you're going to pass away tomorrow. So what are you going to do with your life for the last 24 hours of your life? What are you going to do? I said, are you going to run up to your bedroom, pull all the blinds, climb into bed, pull all the sheets up to your neck and cry until your life is no longer? I said, I've met you over the past couple days. I know that's not the case with you. I know you're here because that's not who you are.
Yeah.
I said, so what you're going to do is you're going to get up out of bed and you go do everything that you've always wanted to do with that last 24 hours. And you're going to experience an amazing day. And you're going to go to bed that night and you're going to put your head on the pillow and you're going to feel complete in knowing that you gave everything you could within those last 24 hours. And for some mystical mistake, you wake up the next day and you're still alive. And so you figure you still have another 24 hours left. And so you spend that day doing all the things in your life that you didn't get to do the day before or any of the days prior. And then you go to bed and you say, okay, I'm good with this. And then you wake up the next day and you do it again. And you wake up the next day and you do it again. You wake up the next day and you do it again. And you keep stringing along these amazing days. And if you string enough along amazing days, you're going to build an amazing life. And that's how you keep moving forward.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And it's just like, one of the top leaders in my organization. He said, and I'm sure he may have borrowed this quote. He may have created it. So I get comments online. He's not the one who's, I don't care who said it. I don't care. He stole it. He owned it. It might as well be his. But, he said to me, he said, I don't want to die old. I just want to die empty. I just want to die empty. I just want to make sure that I've gotten all the stuff that's inside that I needed to get that out. I want to make sure that I've experienced everything in the completeness and the fullness that it deserves to be experienced, the best I can do today, not what I could do tomorrow, not what I could do yesterday. I'm not dealing with limitations on either side of me, but just everything. And then I just want to go out empty, where I'm settled. My accounts are settled, just like you said. I'm good.
Did you ever hear that quote? I don't know if I'm going to remember it exactly, but it's like, I don't want to enter heaven all preserved and in a beautiful package. I want to come like sliding into heaven like it's, home plate, scratches, bruises, scrapes, like
man, what a hell of a ride.
Yeah, man, what a hell of a ride.
That's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's great.
Yep.
And I think that a lot of people approach me and they'll say, well, Derek, you've got someone else's heart in your chest that could fail at any moment. How does it feel to know that you could just go at any time? And I look at them and I accept their curiosity, even if their tact might be a little off. And I go, I don't know. How do you feel? Because unless you've got some kind of contract in a back room somewhere that I'm not aware of, you and I are in the same boat. And that we could, all of us, go at any moment. So what are you doing today? And learn from me, learn from my mistakes. Don't do what I did. Don't die at 30 having put off life and having put off joy, focusing all on work and putting off life for another day. Take advantage of what you have now, experience now, live now, do what you have to do, pay the bills, but you don't have to go through cancer and a heart transplant and all of these things to get to the point to live the life that you want to live. Learn from folks like me, but take the moment of now and make the very best of what you have. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's such a beautiful perspective, because you'll look at somebody and be like, oh, they could die at any minute. And it's like, what? Where's your deal? Right. Like, just like you're saying, where's
anybody could. Yeah. It's just, you've heard me say, like, so-and-so said to me the other day, what is it like to know that Derek might die? And I'm like, what are you? I'm like, I might die. Like, we all, like, you're going to die.
I don't mean to be the bearer of bad news, but I just want to make sure. I just want to slide this over to your side of the table.
Right. This is not unique to Derek. Like, you tell me, what's it like?
Yeah, talk a little bit about, you have your business, you're doing amazing things, you're serving people in such an exceptional way as clients, you're developing a leadership team, you're really making waves at this point in a business that's hundreds and hundreds of years old. This is not a new business. Right. It's hard to do new things in an old business, right? But certainly doing those with your agency as a part of Symmetry Financial Group, just like mine. That's the business side. That business, I know the way that you work your business and the way that y'all see your business is to fund the impact. You do the impact inside your business. I always say, in order for capitalism to work, you have to build a great business so that business can do great things in the communities it serves, right? But talk a little bit about, you're on this side now. You just talked about going to speak at the Dragonfly camps. What are some of the other initiatives? Because I know that's something that you really are at the tip of the spear on when it comes to helping other people experience life and excellence on the other side of major medical events, sicknesses, and other things. So talk a little bit about your life there.
Absolutely. And so with all that happened through COVID, one of the things that, like, I think probably had the potential to hurt us the most was not being able to do as much of that for a period of time, whether it was because we had to recover financially or just, being around people. So now, we're excited to be able to expand more. But we were talking about this on the car ride down here. We'll tell you all the great things we're doing, but I think it's important to remember that you don't have to spend money or have crazy resources to give back. Just invite someone on a walk or accept a walk when someone invites you, and just be open to what's the worst that is going to happen if you take a walk with someone. You know what I mean? You might end up making a great friend, and now you walk all the time and now you're becoming healthier. Just listening to somebody of what they're going through and say, let's get you outside. You can do those things without needing money at all. So that is something that is important to remember. When you start hitting your financial goals, people are uncomfortable with the word wealth and things like that. And, I was one of those people coming from a family that didn't have a lot of money, and then coming to where we are now, realizing wealth is not a dirty word. It's a beautiful word, because now your reach is you can reach more people because you have more resources, and resources you can extend to other people. So, already we did, we like to do these 24-hour virtual fitness fundraisers where we do, we did one for Leukemia and Lymphoma Society just in, when was that?
This past year, within the
a few months ago. So we did a 24-hour event where we invited people to string together, pick an hour, let's string together 24 hours. We're gonna be riding our bike 24 hours indoors. We'll be there the whole entire time. You come into this Zoom whenever you want. We're gonna have interviews, some live, some recorded, with survivors, with families of people who have gone through this, and come in and spend time with us. And so, we're still fairly new-ish to Symmetry, but with the reach we've already had, we were able to raise over $6,000 in a 24-hour period. But we know we can.
Yeah, that's a seed.
We can blow that up. We've blown it up with other organizations once they got to kind of know us and stuff. So we're just excited to be in a group of people who we quite literally give back. That's what we do for a living. Yeah. And there's so many people who are also want to be physically active. So we know we can make that huge. So
one of the greatest things is that we can be that example that, you can come back. You can overcome, and you can make a life on the other side of struggles, hardships, financial, physical, mental, you name it. We're living proof of it. And it's a luxury, it's a gift that we have at this point to be able to give back to others. And that's part of earning it.
Just the response. So we did that bike ride, and the response, we had Nikki and Jeff and Jacob and people who were I love this. Sure, we'll donate. Sure, we'll. It's just it feels good to have found a home where that is a piece of that.
Yeah, absolutely. It does. That is the thing that does take it from working for a living to a life's work. And that's the thread that I keep hearing throughout. It's not like we work out. It's just no, we live in a way that builds fitness, right? We live, it's not, we're doing these things. It's no, generosity is a core value and principle that we express, pouring into others, building community. That is not just this isolated thing. That's something that you get because you've benefited from it. Yeah. And so I think that, for me, the authentic connection and living in that way of allowing your struggle to be your struggle, but not denying all the lessons you can learn from it. Yeah. Allowing your struggle to be your struggle, but not really neutering that struggle's ability to give value and to breathe new life into this next part of life that we get as a gift, right? Whether that's the next hour, the next day, the next month, the next year, or the next we see it all the time. It's like the struggles that in the past define it. My coach says, without doing the work, without working and growing yourself, growing your perspective, your painful past will become your predictable future.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it's like going through this is a beautiful story, not because of the cancer, not because of the heart transplant, not because of that, but because of what's happened on the other side of that.
Yeah.
You know, that would have been a beautiful struggle, and it would have been a sad story, but the life that not only you've gotten the opportunity to have, but the presence that you both have brought to that, and just the encouragement of sharing that with others.
Yeah. So what I didn't mention was, like, we talked, you heard at the beginning about our connection with the transplantation, and this was, I think it was the 2019, I think. So the sister who passed, she was my blended family stepsister. So my other stepsister and her mother, we invited them to do the it's a proactive, what's it called? The Proact Recovery Walk in Philadelphia. It's 30,000 people who get together to walk through the city to it's for awareness of substance abuse, and to support those who are going through that, support the families who've lost someone. And you just come together. And Gift of Life in Philadelphia always has a team. So we joined their team, and we invited my stepsister, Lisa, and her mother to come with us. And they hadn't really realized, like, I guess they had never really kind of understood kind of the power and like legacy that Lorraine had left behind, you know, after this horrible thing that happened, and all the good that can come out on the other side of it. So for them to just be able to, we just walked and talked. We just walked with 30,000 of our friends and talked about, you know, why we were there. And that, like, had we, you know, not met and not, like, they just would never have had that ability to be like, what, there is something bigger on the other side of this. So there's just so many, if you pay attention and if you put yourself out there and get out into the world and do these things, there's just so much better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's truly a beautiful way of seeing it, because I you know, we have this perspective that is more, we have this messaging, right? And it's a really overt messaging that I feel like we receive around that. And I've my mom's, when I call her, are you okay? You okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm okay, but that's not what I'm shooting for.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
are you like? It's like,
yeah.
And you hear these tropes, these sayings, right? There's better safe than sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't found one single person who said that who didn't end up both safe and sorry.
Right. Like,
right. They're in this position where they're living, protecting themselves from sensation and wondering why it's dull.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's so true. It's like the rocking. I always say, like, I gauge everything on my rocking chair. Mm-hmm. And what that means is when I'm like a gazillion years old, because that's how old I'm going to be when I die. I'm a gazillion years old, and I'm sitting in my rocking chair. Like, when I'm making a decision, what am I gonna sit in that rocking chair and go, boy, I sure am glad I didn't take that walk, or sure I'm glad I didn't go for that race. Or, like, you're never going to be glad you didn't try something or didn't take a risk. Like, you're always, whether it works out or it doesn't, you're always going to be glad you took that that step. So yeah, it's that look at everything as if you're an old lady in a rocking chair.
Yeah, that's what Derek and I will do from now on. So, check out the official Unlock Potential store, where inspiration meets style. Explore our exclusive collection of gear inspired by the transformational messages straight from our Unlock Potential podcast. From trendy apparel that embraces the power of positivity to accessories that fuel your motivation. We've got something for every go-getter. Spread the messages of empowerment, energy, and motivation that you get from the Unlock Potential podcast by grabbing your gear today. I'm looking forward to partnering. When I got to sit down, I felt this deep connection. I'm inspired by you guys and the work that you continue to do, the perspective that you have, the growth, and how this isn't just a, 5K channeled thing. Like, it's not only in work, right? You allow yourselves to be fully expressive, and your business is one expression of it. Your work with charities is one expression. You have a physical expression of competing and being in that space as well. I really look forward to just continuing to partner with you and giving my audience, and as we grow the audience, even more access to your mindsets, because I think that when people start to see things different, the things they see will start to change. And we can really grow and adjust our perspective. I know how much this conversation has impacted my perspective, and impacted just like this idea of like the first day. What a beautiful thing. And so I'm excited if you've been joining us through this whole thing, for you to just share with the perspectives that you have gotten from this time. Comment, like, and subscribe, do all the things. But the bigger part of it is like this community is growing. And the only reason why I was able to do this is because it's not the community of people getting in front of the camera. It's a community of connections with like-minded, like-valued people who are willing to do the hard work of being risky, of like being alive, of being real, of offering themselves to other people, knowing the fear of rejection is there, of putting themselves out there in real life instead of living in this hindered way and blaming other people. Well, if it was safer out there, I would be more out there. It's not going to be until you're out there.
Yep.
Like if there was more opportunity that was out there, then maybe I'd be more willing to take risks, or I would, if there was more security in the opportunity. And it's just like, no, you have to sacrifice that shit in order to make room.
Yep.
Don't become a hoarder.
Yeah.
Like you can't hoard all the stuff you've had.
Yep.
Because you got to make room for new stuff.
Yep.
And it's like, that's how I see it. And what I see is a process with the two of you of not being that hoarder of all these past experience, past results, past gifts, but you just continuously moving those things out so to make room for new things, and being here while this life is moving through, and while you're moving through life and joining people. And that's exactly what the Unlock Potential community is about. That's exactly what y'all's life is about. And I'm really looking forward to continuing to impact with others. But I just wanted to give each of you, one message that you would send out to an audience of people who are looking to find their best. They're looking to be their best. There's still people who are watching who are in a position of, I don't know what it's going to look like. And the reason we don't know what it's going to look like is because we're building it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What message would you have to that person who is looking to experience something new in life? They're looking to cut off all the things that have happened. They're willing to break free and act courageously from the fear in the future. What would you say to that person who's ready to give birth to new life now?
Well, I think that anybody who is either running to or running from something, I was not someone who was open to the idea of sharing my story initially. I was very closed off. It wasn't until I expanded my horizons and allowed myself to be around other people who had similar situations that I was like, oh, wow, you mean you're telling me I'm cold now because my heart has no nerves going to it, so my heart isn't pumping faster, making me warmer in this cold breeze that's going through. You're all wearing jackets. You've learned something that I don't know yet. And now I understand why I am the way I am. I now bring a jacket with me wherever I go. And it's opening yourself up and allowing yourself to be vulnerable and just taking every opportunity to understand. I love that diagram that's out there, which is your comfort zone, where the magic happens.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. Yeah. Yep.
And it is just opening yourself up. I'm a horrible introvert. I hate talking in front of people. And yet I do it as a way of life now. And so it's really just open up, take that risk, because all that cool shit is out in the fun space, and it's completely outside your comfort zone.
Yeah.
That's That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I love that. I love this idea, because a lot of people have they've read all this stuff. Well, I'm an introvert. It's like, you're a fancy worded victim. That's what that's what the fuck you are. Like, I'm sorry. Like, you've got fancy language around your victim bullshit. It's like, oh, what? No, you're probably socially awkward. And that's something that I had to work through, because every interaction that I had was awkward. And I was wondering why all these other people were doing this to me. And it turned out I was the one who brought the weirdness every time.
That's what I always say, just keep it awkward. I don't even try to hide it anymore. I'm like, it's going to be an awkward conversation with me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but very real. Yeah,
exactly.
How about for you, Aaron? What would you share?
I mean, and again, I don't know if I'm quoting someone or if this is my own. I have no idea if I stole it or not, but I think it's just remembering, like, when you look at somebody who's doing something that you wish you could do, they didn't come out of the womb doing that thing. Like, so the only difference between where you are and where you want to be is just if you take that step and you keep going. That whole like imposter syndrome, like I've been through that, where I'm like, oh, I don't know enough to do this, or I'm not a runner because I hadn't done my first half marathon until we met, but I had run my whole, since high school, but I didn't consider myself a runner, because it's Derek, the moment he got on that treadmill and decided he got that runner high, he was a runner.
Yeah.
Like that, if you get to the starting line, you're that thing, you are that thing, whether you continue, if you get to keep that title, what determines that is if you keep going towards that finish line. It's the starting line is the most important. You can't do anything till you start. So just imposter syndrome be damned. Get to the start line.
Yeah.
And don't stop.
And look at have an unreasonable perspective too, because I love this. If you get to the starting line, that's who you are. And it's like, if you have that free beer after the 5K, you're now a sponsored freaking athlete. Right. I'm sorry. That's right. I'm sponsored by Coors Light. It's it's just like being like, having that unreasonable optimism in support of things that are worthwhile and valuable. Like, nobody cares about your opinion on things that don't make other people better, don't serve other people, or don't help. Like, if they're not helpful, it's just like, oh, this is a great opportunity to think about something, like to move forward to something we can affect. And there's a lot of themes that run through this story, but one of the themes that I hear from both of you is understand control and influence. And don't try to control the things you can only influence. And don't try to influence the things you can only control. And there was a lot in here that you could not control, but it did not stop you from influencing. And there was a lot in this that you never had any influence on, but you could absolutely control. You could control how you followed up and listened. You could control the relationship you built and how intentionally you built it. You could control recovery from heart transplants, recovery from your business with COVID, how we're going to push forward. And the thing that I see is every time that you've done that, your influence and control move toward, we're going to be better. We're going to be more full. What's next? And can we do this, right? Can we do
Let's go.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. And so with that, I just want to thank everybody for tuning in over these. It's probably going to be broken up into a couple of episodes. Find out more about Derek and Aaron, about their journey. You're going to be seeing more of them as we collaborate in the future. I'm excited to get into your world as well and see where I can bring value. Make sure to find them on socials. Make sure to find out about their agency. Certainly, if you're looking to work with amazing people, show me two better. Put their pictures in comments. Come on. We want to find them too. That's why I'm saying, just straight up dox them. Let us know what their phone number is. We're gonna call them. We're gonna hire them, work with them. But it's thanks for joining us. I hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. And I know that we're just continuing to build this community intentionally toward being of the most use to other people, being able to create in wonderful ways, live presently and powerfully. And that's what Unlock Potential is about. And that's what we're building. So I want to thank you for being a part of that. And I also want to thank you guys for the time today.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Unlock Potential.
For exclusive content, make sure to subscribe to our Patreon. Follow us across all socials at The Brian Delaney and visit our website at thebriandelaney.com to shop our gear and see what's coming up next.